Hello, good evening, Monday evening. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Roger Johnson. Here's our top story. Former nurse Lucy Letby tells her attempted murder retrial that she never tried to harm any child in her care. Letby is facing one charge, having already been convicted of murdering 7 infants and trying to kill 6 others. Also tonight, former pupils plan to sue a Merseyside school over claims that they had suffered decades of violence.
You spent virtually every day in fear.
Looking back on it now, I would definitely describe it as child abuse.
We'll meet the Greater Manchester mum who says that her life was saved in part by bowel cancer campaigner Dame Deborah James. Go, go, Joe, the retirement do with a difference for the head teacher who has devoted her life to her school.
It's just incredible. I can't believe it. It's just such a surprise.
What were you expected from your last day?
Oh my goodness, not this.
And it may well feel like summer has officially arrived, but will it last until the end of the week? Join me later in the programme for a full update.
The former nurse, Lucy Letby, has told her retrial that she never intended or tried to harm any baby in her care. Letby is facing one charge, that she tried to murder a newborn baby girl at the Countess of Chester Hospital in February 2016. She has already been convicted of murdering 7 babies and trying to kill 6 others. Well, Lucy Letby's defence began today. Andy Gill was at Manchester Crown Court. He joins us now live from there. So, Andy, what was said?
Well, Lucy Letby is alleged to have tried to murder a newborn baby girl known as Baby K by dislodging her breathing tube and then doing nothing to help after that happened. Today, Lucy Letby gave evidence in her own defence, and her defence barrister, Ben Myers KC, addressed this allegation immediately. He said to Lucy Letby, did you attempt to kill Baby K? And Lucy Letby replied, no. Mr. Myers went on and said to her, did you intend to do her any harm at all? Again, Lucy Letby replied, no. Mr. Myers also asked her about those convictions last year for murdering and attempting to murder other babies at Chester. He said to Lucy Letby, the jury has seen a list of convictions from previous proceedings. Do you accept you've ever intended to harm any baby in your care? And Lucy Letby replied, no, I don't. Mr. Myers then asked her, do you accept you ever tried to harm any baby in your care? And again, Lucy Letby replied, no.
Andy, she was also cross-examined today by the prosecution as well.
Yes, this was cross-examination by Nick Johnson KC, who's leading the prosecution. He also addressed the issue of her convictions last year. And he said to her, you are saying that you're not the sort of person who would kill babies, but you are just that sort of person. You have killed 7 babies. Lucy Letby interjected and said, no, I haven't. Mr. Johnson went on and attempted to kill 6 more, one of them twice. No, said Lucy Letby. Lucy Letby also denied looking for evidence of grief when she made Facebook searches for the name of the family involved in this trial here and the names of other families whose babies were killed or were harmed at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Lucy Letby denies one charge of attempted murder in this trial, and her cross-examination is due to continue here tomorrow morning.
Andy Gill, thank you. Now, former pupils are taking legal action against a prestigious private school in Merseyside. They're alleging historical physical abuse which spanned decades from the 1960s to the mid-1990s, while the Christian Brothers ran St Mary's College and the Mount Prep School in Crosby. One former pupil describes the beatings as excessive and unjustified. Katie Walderman has this exclusive report.
For decades, the experiences of their school days have been buried.
I was being assaulted by a full-grown fella. I was kicked, punched, kicked along the floor. At one point I thought he was going to kill me.
Looking back on it now, I would definitely describe it as child abuse.
You spent virtually every day in fear.
There's no excuse for asking a boy to take his clothes off. in front of a grown man.
St Mary's College and the Mount Prep were renowned for outstanding results. They still are. But for 4 past pupils who've shared accounts with us, those results were drummed into them through fear and through violence.
I mean, it wasn't an education, it was just learning to survive.
The Catholic school was established more than 100 years ago by the Christian Brothers, who had a reputation for firm discipline and liberal use of corporal punishment. They ran the establishment until the start of the 1990s, before control of the entire school was handed over in 2006. But the brothers' legacy cast a long shadow over some of those who went there, like Dickie Felton, a pupil in the 1980s.
Well, I hated every single second of being there. We were getting physically assaulted by Brother Kelly. And it was so bad that I urinated on myself. I mean, it was stood in front of the class. I was peeing my pants because I was terrified. That was one of the main memories of my childhood.
Another former pupil who wants to remain anonymous was at the school until 1994. He says he was ritually beaten by Brother Kelly from the age of just 5 and told me it's had a profound effect on him.
It was joked about at his funeral that he taught traditionally. This wasn't traditional, this was sadistic beatings. And it's not just the strap, the occasional strap every now and again. It'd be dragged in and you'd be getting 6 on each hand. So you couldn't use your hands. I couldn't ride my BMX for 2 weeks on some occasions. Couldn't go on swings because the pulp of my hands was so swollen and bruised.
One time, Brother Kelly even turned up at his home.
I remember screaming to my mum, "Brother Kelly's here, Brother Kelly's here." And the way he greeted me and the way he smirked at me, it was as if I can even get to you in your house.
A hall has since been named after Brother Kelly at the school. Steve Bolton's a leading investigative documentary maker, editing programmes including ITV's World in Action. He's not involved in the legal case, but also suffered at the hands of other brothers.
The most notorious of the beaters of my generation was a member of the Christian Brothers, Brother Brickley. His strap, Excalibur, he had it in the pocket of his cassock, almost like a gunslinger's 6-shooter. And we lived in absolute terror of him.
Steve says he's shocked the beatings by the leather strap with metal sewn in continued for decades after he left in the 60s, but says his punishment went beyond physical violence. At 12, he was made to strip down from the waist and lie across the lap of his head teacher, Brother Francis.
I didn't really understand why a grown man would want to see and touch a naked boy. Obviously, as I grew older, I began to understand that. And it often makes me kind of shiver and, frankly, you get upset about it. It wasn't a nice thing to have happened to you.
Paul Carter was there during the same era, having been awarded a scholarship after passing the 11+. He told me it's time the frequent, excessive and unjustified violence was put on record.
I do know of people who had a similar and worse history to me, but who've died or who've got dementia now or something like that. So, in a sense, I feel some obligation to kind of speak up for them.
Merseyside Police looked into similar allegations in 2018, but no case was pursued. Now 4 former pupils are taking their own action against St Mary's College and the Mount.
Corporal punishment was still legal at private schools during this period. What makes this different?
These are not cases where somebody got caned for bringing in homework late or getting answers wrong. The effort that members of staff appeared to have gone to harm children, to hurt them, to intimidate them and cause them fear, it goes beyond corporal punishment.
In 1998, the Christian Brothers issued an unprecedented public apology for abuse inflicted over years across its various institutions. It says it's unable to comment in view of the prospective legal action, but says it sincerely regrets any and all forms of abuse that may have been committed on anyone who attended St Mary's or the Mount. While a spokesperson for St Mary's College said they're saddened to hear of these serious allegations and say since the school was transferred from the Christian Brothers to a new charitable trust in 2006, the culture of the college has changed beyond all recognition. They add if any police investigation ensues, we would of course give officers any assistance they might need. For Paul, Steve and Dickie, it's hoped by sharing their experiences, it will embolden others to do the same. Katie Walderman, BBC North West Tonight, Crosby.
story we will, of course, continue to follow. If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in Katie's report, you can find help and support through the BBC Action Line. There's the address on the screen, the website, bbc.co.uk/action line. You will have noticed summer is finally here. We'll have a full forecast on how long it will last shortly. But first, in other news tonight, a 19-year-old who was shot dead in Liverpool last night has been named as Ellis Cox. Police were called to the Liver industrial estate in Aintree just after 11 o'clock last night. He died in hospital. The search for a Lancashire teenager who's missing in Tenerife has continued for an 8th day. Jay Slater from Oswald Twistle disappeared after going to a music festival on the island. An online fundraising page to help his family who have flown out there has passed its £30,000 target. And Manchester Airport spent the day clearing a backlog after tens of thousands of passengers had their flights disrupted by a major power cut yesterday. Long queues formed, as people were told at one point, to stay away from Terminals 1 and 2. 10 days to polling day, pretty much, you know that. The general election campaigning continues, and one of the issues which has angered people in recent times is water pollution. Of course, it's something we've reported on many times on the programme. Well, today, the water pollution campaigner and 80s pop star Fergal Sharkey was in Macclesfield. He met Labour's parliamentary candidate there, Tim Rocker, to talk about that party's plans to try to clean up our rivers.
The last government, in power for 14 years, they were told by the highest court in Europe 12 years ago they were acting illegally. What did they do in response? Little, if anything, and delivered even less. We need change, and we need it now, and we need it to happen on July the 4th. Well, Macclesfield has been a Conservative stronghold. In fact, it's been blue since 1918. But the opinion polls suggest that Labour could do well there. And as a result, the leading parties have both deployed high-profile campaigners to the constituency to woo the voters, as our Cheshire political reporter Kaylee Watterson now explains.
Friends David, Shirley, Jennifer and Graham having coffee in Macclesfield. They meet up regularly and there's plenty to talk about, especially when it comes to local issues.
Potholes, you cannot drive around Macclesfield because of the number of potholes.
Nobody's really dealing with social care.
Horrendous for parking in the town.
Well, there are no shops, so we come in a car.
So with the general election around the corner, what do they want to hear from politicians?
I would like the politicians to be honest, and they are not honest. And they are making all these wonderful, wild promises, which they cannot fulfil. We know they can't fulfil them. And what happens? Nothing. And it's sad. It's very sad. And I think this is going to get worse.
Do you all think that? Is that
yes.
The truth. We'd like to hear the truth.
Yes.
We would, yeah.
2.5 miles away in the village of Bollington, Angela says it's local issues that matter to her.
Some of the leaflets that come through, some of the candidates are definitely thinking about the smaller places, and that's what swayed me to choose which way I'm going.
Would you like to meet your candidates, or are you happy just to receive leaflets? Does that make a difference to you?
I think it would make a difference if they did, but I've not had anyone knock on my door.
The constituency of Macclesfield dates back to 1885, and as well as the town itself, it includes the surrounding villages, places like Prestbury and Bollington, as well as the rural areas around them too. And it's a long-standing Conservative seat. It's been held by the Conservatives since 1918, and over the last 100 years, it's only had 5 different MPs. The major parties are both targeting this constituency, and plenty of big hitters have been here on visits. For the Conservatives, Rishi Sunak and Lord Cameron have both visited, while Labour have sent Angela Rayner here too. This week, 3 major opinion polls suggested the Conservatives were likely to lose not just Macclesfield, but nearly all the seats they're defending in the North West. But with a week and a half of campaigning to go, it's all still to play for. Kaylee Watterson, BBC North West Tonight, Macclesfield.
Indeed it is. Now, this is Lindsay Ainscote with her husband Christian and their 3 children. She's just been given the all clear from bowel cancer after being on a drug trial at the Christie Hospital. But Lindsay owes her life in part to a woman that she never met. She was doing the ironing when she saw cancer campaigner Deborah James being interviewed here on BBC One. Of course, she became Dame Deborah James. Well, alarm bells started ringing for Lindsay and she went to the doctor, and as a result, she was diagnosed with grade 3 bowel cancer. Katie Barnfield's been chatting to her today.
My treatment's done, this course is run, and I am on my way out.
Ringing the bell at the Christie Hospital to say she is cured. a moment Lindsay never expected after being diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer.
Well, I'd been experiencing some signs and symptoms during lockdown, so that was like extreme fatigue, weight loss, but most of all blood when I was going to the toilet. I put it off for quite a while, I did ignore it. It was one day that I saw Dame Deborah on the news. When she was talking about the signs and the symptoms, especially the blood, it caught my ear and she caught my attention. And I turned to my husband and I said, "Do you think I've got bowel cancer?"
I have the poo cancer. The glam cancer. I have the glam cancer.
It's 2 years this week since Dame Deborah James lost her life. The journalist and podcaster raised millions for research through her Bowel Babe Fund and helped break the stigma around bowel cancer.
So I was pooing blood and eventually got diagnosed with a 6.5 centimetre tumour up my bum.
Lindsay says without Dame Deborah's work, she may not be here today.
Because I went off the back of what Dame Deborah said, I do believe she played a part in saving my life. She did. And I can honestly say the legacy she has left is unbelievable. She was such a strong lady. She really was.
Lindsay is cancer-free thanks to a clinical trial at the Christie in Manchester, combining an immunotherapy drug with chemo and radiotherapy.
What's new in this case is that this drug hasn't been used for rectal cancer before, and it hasn't been used in combination with radiotherapy before. The benefits are that hopefully we could offer this to more patients. Perhaps if more patients had an excellent response like Lindsay, they may not need surgery.
How much of a difference has Dame Deborah James made in terms of people being more aware of symptoms, coming, getting checked out in a way they maybe didn't before?
And certainly when patients come to clinic, they often refer to Deborah. She made it an easier conversation for people to have.
You know, we need to have hope. That's what she told everybody they need to do. We need to have rebellious hope. We need to appreciate the little things. We need to find light in those dark moments. You know, the legacy lives on. She's done an absolutely fantastic job and I can't thank her enough.
Katie Barnfield talking to Lindsay Ainscoe. We wish her and her family all the very best, of course. Right, on to sport. Richard's here. Manchester Thunder netball team on the verge of history, Rich.
They are, Roger, yes. Manchester Thunder into the grand final with the chance to win a 5th Super League title, which would equal the record. It would cap off a terrific season for the Thunder, who won their semi-final in style at the weekend, and now they're determined to go all the way.
I'd like to think we can get through the final and bring that trophy home. No stone unturned going into the final.
Yeah, that's all down to you, Karen. No pressure.
Yeah. I know, it's one of them. It's like it's going to be a big week, but looking forward to it.
This is actually the first time for me experiencing a team culture and a system like this, where everyone is supportive, everyone wants everyone to succeed. It's just, yeah, it's wonderful.
For the rope, you know, they're playing tricks on each other, they're dancing, doing TikTok. There's lots of jokers in there and some dry sense of humour, some really loud, bubbly sense of humour. So there's a little bit of a mix, but they all bounce off each other.
A formula that clearly works, with Karen's squad having already lifted the trophy for coming top after the regular season. How much do you appreciate what they bring and what sort of a difference do they make?
They were literally our 8th player on Saturday. They supported us so well.
You've won the title on several occasions. What would it mean to you if you can do that again?
It would mean absolutely everything. If we can win on Saturday, we will equal Team Bath's record of 5 titles. So that's definitely a kind of little bit of pressure there, but definitely something that I'm really wanting to do, is that we're signing off as the best team in the current Super League in this format.
Cricket Lancashire have had a cracking day with the bat on day 2 of their county championship match at Kent, with the hosts all out for 244 in their first innings. Lancs ended the day on 402 for 4. Luke Wells made 150, with Josh Bohannon on 182 not out. Brilliant performance. Finally, best wishes to Alan Hansen and his family after the great news that the Liverpool legend is out of hospital, continuing his recovery at home. That's the news we wanted to hear, Roger.
It's brilliant news, Rich. Thank you very much, Richard, with the sport tonight. Now, do you remember your first teacher at school? My earliest memory is Mrs. Leach when I was about 7, I reckon, but I wonder how many little ones who've been through St Paul and St Timothy's Infants at West Derby in Liverpool will say that their first memory is of Mrs Starkey. She went there for teacher training. She became the head and she stayed for 36 years. But her association went back even further than that because, as little Joanne, she started as a pupil there 55 years ago. No wonder they gave her a great send-off into retirement today. And Phil McCann was there.
Maths was off, literacy was cancelled, uniforms were scrapped. Not because the head teacher was away, but because she was here for one last time.
This is amazing! This is a special surprise! You're beautiful.
This, you won't be surprised to know, is not how Joanne Starkey normally arrives at work. This morning she was led onto the school field and into a festival named in her honour.
We've set up a surprise for her. We're having a big celebration for her retirement.
She'd always said she wanted to go to a festival, so we came up with the idea of Joe Fest, and it literally just rolled from there.
So you brought the festival to her?
We brought the festival to her, yeah.
She doesn't need to go to Glastonbury now?
She doesn't need to go to Glastonbury now. Maybe next year when she's retired she might make it to Glastonbury.
And they really did bring the festival to her.
This is just incredible. I can't believe it. It's just such a surprise.
What were you expected from your last day?
Oh my goodness, not this.
Joanne Starkey first set foot in this school in 1969 when she was 4. She graduated to junior school in 73 but was back here as a grown-up as a qualified teacher by 1988. She's been here ever since.
We always say if we were to cut it in half, she would have St Paul's running through her blood. She means everything. She does everything. Her life is this school.
I can remember walking down the slope on my first day with my best friend Catherine, and we had to take off our outdoor shoes and put on our indoor shoes to come inside the building. That doesn't happen now.
What's Mrs Starkey like as a head teacher? Go on.
Very kind.
And what else?
She likes taking care of people.
Anything else? Go ahead.
She's nice.
Children are, basically the same. They just want to be loved, nurtured, understood, and challenged.
There were plenty of challenges at Mrs Starkey's festival today, and plenty of food.
You can have hot dogs or a chicken wrap.
All part of one big goodbye to someone who's helped thousands of Liverpool children to grow up. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
That's a colourful send-off, that, isn't it? Happy retirement, Mrs Starkey. You had the weather for it as well, didn't you? Glorious day for your last day. Let's have a look at the forecast, see how it's looking for the rest of the week. Here's Abby with the forecast.
Hello, good evening. Another mostly dry day to come tomorrow. It will feel warm, if not hot, with temperatures potentially as high as 25 or 26 degrees Celsius. All thanks to this area of high pressure. It shifted slightly further east, and that is drawing up very mild air from the near continent, but we will start to see fresher temperatures from Thursday onwards. Overnight tonight, it will be mostly dry with variable clouds, some clear spells. Our temperatures dropping to around 12 or 13 degrees Celsius, so quite a mild start to the day tomorrow, fairly uncomfortable for getting to sleep. A cloudy start on the Isle of Man, but we will see the cloud breaking with some decent spells of sunshine developing from time to time, and whenever we do see the sun, it really bolsters the temperatures. Elsewhere, mostly dry, but as you see on the graphics, there is the risk of 1 or 2 showers starting to break out as we head towards the end of the day. Very hit and miss, though. Temperatures very similar to tomorrow to what we had today, ranging from between 19 to 25 degrees. As we head towards the end of the week, then, we will start to see a cold front moving through on Thursday. That will bring cloud, a little bit of patchy rain Thursday morning, and will indicate fresher temperatures. Certainly not cold, but cooler than it will have been over the next couple of days. This is how Wednesday's looking. Again, mostly dry, very similar to tomorrow with variable cloud and sunny spells. If we do see a little bit more sunshine, then our temperatures could be even higher, 26, 27 degrees Celsius, quite possible through Wednesday. And again, the risk is there of 1 or 2 isolated showers. Thursday will start cloudy with 1 or 2 spots of light rain in the morning. Once that clears, it will be drier later, but it will feel much fresher. Temperatures returning back to the high teens as we head towards the weekend.
Thanks, Abby. Not too bad, though, is it? It has to be said. Earlier in the programme, we were talking about Lindsay Ainscough, remember, and that amazing recovery that she's made after bowel cancer, and she was ringing the bell at the Christie in Manchester after her cancer treatment. Well, have a look at this. Same thing. It's Ray, same bell, actually. Now, Ray's 76. He's had prostate cancer, and just look, I mean, he's whacked after radiotherapy, quite rightly. But he wanted to do something different by way of celebration, so not that worn out. Ray apparently was quite a keen ballroom dancer back in the day, and, well, he can still throw a shape and make a move, can't he? Well done, Ray. We wish Ray all the best for his continued recovery. If there's a story that you think we should be covering, particularly if it's a nice one, nwt@bbc.co.uk is our email address. Ian Haslam's here with your late news at 10:30, but from all the 6:30 team, thank you as always for watching. Enjoy the sunshine. Good night.